This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
I got such a special guest today. I'm so excited to talk with him. This man, as myself, we're all about transformation, but he brings it to a new level. He has his own company. He started actually, he went to a Tony Robbins seminar like me, eventually had his Firewalk operations worldwide for almost 20 years. I mean, unbelievable. And he's a creator, I guess, and co-founder of firewalkadventures.com. We're going to talk about that. Let me just bring him on because I want to get talking with him. Mr. Dave Albin. Dave, thanks for joining me, brother.
What's up, Cliff? Nice to be here, man. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah.
So maybe a little brief story on how you ended up just heading the Firewalk operations for Tony Robbins. I mean, that's, to me, is exciting.
Well, the smart aleck answer is I made that left-hand turn at Albuquerque. Yeah, it was, it certainly wasn't planned, Cliff. It was just one of those things that evolved. I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar in 1995, and it was a hard hell no on the Firewalk. I had a buddy call me on the phone that we had both gone through personal power.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Right. So, and some of your listeners won't even know what this means, but it came on little white things called cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And, right. So, we did that back in '88 and I loaned it to a buddy and he called me 7 years later in '95 and said, "Hey man, did you know Tony Robbins is coming to town?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know." And he goes, "Oh man, come on. You got me into this. You got to go with me." And I said, "Dude, I'll go. Yeah, no problem. I'd love to see Tony." So he goes, "Great, man. Let me call you back." So he calls me back like an hour later and he goes, "Done. We pick up the tickets at will call. Here's what they told us to do. 1, drink a lot of water. Make sure you stay hydrated." Okay, I got it. "Bring snacks. You're going to spend a lot of time in the room," the man said. And anybody, I'm laughing.
Oh, man, I know.
That's ever been to an event knows you're going to spend a lot of time in the room. And then he said, "Bring a good attitude and be ready to play full out." And I said, "Okay, how much was the ticket?" And he said, $695. He goes, "You just pay me back." I went, whoa. $695. He said, yeah. He goes, "Again, you can pay me back." And I'm like, holy, this better be good.
Yeah.
I don't know that was in '95. What's that equate to now? Like 1.2, 1.3
Yeah,
million?
exactly.
Right. Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, and this is, he's getting ready to get off the phone, Cliff. He goes, "Oh, wait. Before you get off, man, I got to tell you, I almost left out the most important part. We're going to be doing a firewalk." And I'm like, oh, hell no.
No.
This is what's going on in my head. Now, here's what's interesting, Cliff. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what a firewalk is. I have no references for that. I've never heard the term. But the idea of the name, the word fire and walk in the same sentence didn't sound like anything that I was going to be doing anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm just being subservient to him, right? I'm like, "Yeah, sure, Dan. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, firewalk, sure. All right, man. See you then." Got off the phone and said, "Nope, we ain't doing that." Well, the big day comes. We get there. We get checked in. We're in our seat. 2:00 in the afternoon, TR takes the stage. Well, the next thing I know, it's after midnight.
Yes.
Right? We're in a room with Tony, 3,500 people at this event.
Yeah.
This is in '95. And it's after midnight. And all of a sudden, remember, bring snacks?
Yep.
Like the guy told you, you'll starve to death? Yeah, no kidding. So all of a sudden, Tony goes, "Take your shoes off." And I'm like, "Oh, no. Man, I see where you're going with that, pal. Yeah, you ain't tricking me, right?" Well, I got a problem. I'm in a room with 3,500 people, and guess what they're doing? They're taking their shoes off, obviously, right? My buddy's taking his shoes off. So I'm like, oh, geez. So what am I going to do? Because my plan at this point is, look, I know we're going out in this big parking lot. I'm going to ditch my buddy. I'm going to hide in the back. I got this all figured out how to get out of this thing. But now I got to take my shoes off because I'm not going to walk out there and everybody point at me. There's the guy that won't take his shoes off, right? So now we won't do that. I'll take my shoes off and fake it. It's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Now, here's the challenge. Here's the problem that he created. When he gets everybody going out there, he's got them all clapping and chanting.
Yes.
Right? 3,500 people walking out there going, yes,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm walking out there going, no, I ain't doing this. Well,
Wow.
you know it gets worse, right? Because when you get out there, there's African drummers.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, what a dog and pony show this is, right?
Yeah.
Well, I stuck to my plan. I ditched my buddy. I went and I hung out and got into, way in the back where nobody would even know I'm back there. Well, at least that's my plan. At least that's what I think. Well, that's not how it goes down. So how do you do a firewalk, right, for 3,500 people? Well, you start off in the day, probably about the same time Tony took the stage. They start building a fire at 2:00, and they burn it all day. They build this giant pit. It's like 35 feet wide, probably 60, 70 feet long, depends on the size and how many people are coming. And they just stuff it with hardwood, and they burn it, and they keep stacking it, and they keep adding more wood. Well, after it burns for 10 hours, it renders. And at the end of the evening, you've got this big giant pile of coals. And so what they do is they take wheelbarrows over to that pit. They load the coals in wheelbarrows. They bring a wheelbarrow back, and they lay 2 lanes of sod on each side of it. It's called a fire lane. That fire lane's 3 feet wide, 15 feet, 18 feet long. And then they just take a flathead shovel from that wheelbarrow, and they sprinkle those coals, and they pat them down. That's what you walk on. Well, I'm having none of it. I'm hiding in the back. I'm sticking to my plan.
Oh, man.
Why did Tony Robbins bring this 1,000-year-old ritual, this rite of passage, if you will, this thing known as a firewalk, to his events? Because he knows it's probably going to be one of the most life-changing experiences that any human will ever undergo.
Absolutely.
He also knows there's people, right? And
Yes.
he also knows there's people like me.
Yeah.
And he knows where we are. And so he doesn't want you not to do it because you're not going to have the paradigm shift. So what's he do? He trains a bunch of people to come find you. You got to be kidding me. I'm back there minding my own business. I got it all figured out, Cliff. There I am. And all of a sudden, here comes this guy, man, out of nowhere. He comes and he's walking right at me, makes eye contact with me, won't take his eyes off me, which I'm pretty sure he was trained to do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he looks at me like there's something wrong with me. Like when a dog hears a funny noise, right? He's kind of looking at me sideways.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, man, are you okay? And of course, when we're not okay, what do we say?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Nothing to see here, pal. Move along, right?
Yeah.
And he looks at me. He doesn't hesitate for a second. He goes right for the kill shot. He goes, hey, man, you going to walk tonight?
Jeez.
And I'm like, absolutely not. And I'm thinking, you idiot. Why do you think I'm hiding in the back? And he goes, and I kind of said it with quite intensity, right?
I bet. I could tell.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, he knew. And he's like, hey, man, it's cool. No problem. Listen, man, we don't want you to do anything you don't want to do. And I went, wow, okay. I like that. This guy's going to get me out of here. No, he's not. He's setting me up. Because the next question he asked me, and by the way, I don't know who this guy is to this day.
Wow.
I wish I did. This guy completely changed my life. And he put me in a position to change hundreds of thousands of people's lives. Because without him, I'm not on your show, Cliff, right?
Yeah, nothing happens after that. Wow.
Right? And because he asked me, and here's the question, wouldn't you at least like to watch? And I thought, well, sure, yeah, let's go watch these people burn their feet off. This will be entertaining.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, man, you can't see anything from back here. Look, just get in line. Right?
Genius.
Yeah, absolutely genius. And he said, eventually you'll get up there, you'll be able to see it. And so I did. I took the bait. I got in line, and I'm kind of walking along. And by the way, to set this up, I can't see anything. I'm 100 yards away.
Yeah.
I can hear it. Oh, it's going down, right? People are chanting, yes. People are, the drums are going. People are already firewalking. And when they get to the celebration end, they're celebrating.
Yeah.
They're screaming and yelling. I mean, it's full on auditory, but I can't physically see it because I got 3,500 people standing in front of me. So the next thing I know, another stranger comes up to me and he whispers in my ear and he said, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. and poof, this dude just disappeared into the night. And I'm like, what do you mean? What?
Yeah.
What? What
What?
do you mean he knows when you're ready? When he says go, you go. What does that even mean? And so now I'm like, now I'm just kind of trudging along, and all of a sudden I get to a point where I can't see in front of me because, again, I got 1,000 people in front of me. But I get to it, can see it at an angle.
Yeah.
And Cliff, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Every race, every creed, every color.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it going, what in the hell? What's wrong with these people? Why would they do that? We're mammals.
Yeah.
We're taught to run from fire, not walk on it. And
Man.
so I'm mesmerized. I can't take my eyes off it. It's like the car accident you say you're not going to look at, and you're staring at it. And I'm staring, and the next thing I know, I'm not really paying attention in front of me. And all of a sudden, boom, guess where I am?
On the coals.
I'm at the front of the line, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm standing there, and I'm looking down at those coals, and they're burning bright red. It's no question.
Oh, yeah.
The wheelbarrow's there. You can feel the heat coming off. My heart's beating so fast and so hard, I'm pretty sure it's going to jump out of my chest any second. And there's a trainer standing right there, and he's watching me. And all of a sudden he goes, eyes up. And I pull my eyes up. I'm in a room with Tony for 10 hours. Guess what he teaches you to do? Keep your eyes up. Don't stare at what you hear.
No. Yeah.
Right? Metaphorically. So, because, look to the celebration in, man. That's where the reward is.
Yep.
Right over there on the other side of your comfort zone. It's sitting over there waiting for you.
Yes.
So now my eyes are up, and he goes, squeeze your fist and say yes. And I went, yes. And he went, stronger. And I went, yes. Well, he could tell. He knew. I wasn't in a peak state. I was leaving a lot on the table, and he knew it.
Yeah.
So he got in my face and screamed at me.
Wow.
Stronger. And so now it's fight or flight kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Threw my hands in the air, and I screamed, yes. And he goes, go, go, go. Boom. I took off. Remember the guy?
Yep.
He knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. I did.
You went.
I
Thank
went.
God, Dave, you did it. Wow.
Right? Well,
Yeah.
he stages two people at the end of the fire lane
Yep.
and they catch you.
Yeah.
Right? Stop, wipe your feet and celebrate.
Yeah.
And I'm wiping my feet and I'm celebrating. I even thought I burnt myself.
Yeah, you think it. You think you did, but you didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm even checking my feet.
Yeah, I did too.
Right? And then I'm looking back and I'm going, holy shit. I just walked on coals that are 1,000 degrees, but here's the interesting distinction. I don't have a clue how I did it.
Yeah.
How did I do that? Right? We've all done that, right? You do something really awesome, really cool, but you don't really know how you did it, but you did it, and you take credit for it.
Yes.
It's like, that's me. I did that.
I did that.
I'm the guy, right? Well, for me, and apparently 3,500 people, it was one of the most exhilarating moments of our life.
Yes.
Because now we're down in that celebration end. People are cheering and screaming, and they're celebrating. It's exhilarating, as you know.
Yes.
And in that moment, I literally thought I could do anything. Right? It's like, okay, where's the bus? Let's go, people. Let's go climb Everest. Here we go.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you where it got really interesting for me and how I got to where I am now.
Yeah.
Was the next day. Right? Because now, so it's a 4-day event. That was day one, that night. Now we're coming into day 2, and we're all standing in the foyer getting ready to go into the venue. To this day, I've never seen or witnessed anything like it in my life. Last night, we didn't know any of these people. The next morning, we're all brothers and sisters automatically. That experience took our self-worth, our self-confidence, and our self-belief and raised our frequency collectively together. Because I'm watching everybody. I'm like going, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Did we drink the Kool-Aid last night? You better believe we did.
Yeah.
Every
Thank God.
drop.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're watching people. I'm watching them. They're hugging. They're laughing. They're crying. They're talking. They're telling their story. They're talking about the firewalk. They're talking about their fears.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It's just spectacular to be in that. It's so humanistic. It's the way we're supposed to get along, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's the total opposite of March of 2020.
Yeah, it is. Oh, man.
Right? Where everybody's arguing. Yeah, wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Get a vaccine. Get 10 of them. I love Donald Trump. I hate Donald Trump. Oh, shut the hell up.
Stop.
You're falling for it. Divide and conquer. It's right there in front of your face.
Right there.
So later in the event, right, I met one of Tony's trainers, a guy by the name of Ted Macy. Sweet dude, man. Great guy. Him and his wife, Mary, were both trainers at the time. So I'm talking to Ted, and I asked him, I said, so Ted, you're in this environment on a regular basis, aren't you? And he goes, yep, sure am. He goes, and you know what? You need to get in here too if it resonates with you. And he said, as a matter of fact, you see those guys standing over there with the black shirts and the pink writing on the back? I'm like, yeah. He goes, dude, they're volunteers. They're just like you. They came to an event, they filled out an application, they got selected, and now they get to come back and hang out with us. So when you get home, call Robbins Research, ask them for an application. Who knows? I did.
Wow.
Like 9 weeks after I sent that application back, I got a letter in the mail. And it said, Dave Albin, congratulations. You've been selected to crew with the Anthony Robbins Company.
This is so great. Oh, man.
Will color my ass happy.
Yeah. God, that's just so awesome. Yeah.
So there I am. I'm in. Well, they do a pretty thorough, the application asks you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So they found out I was military. They found out I had a security background. So they said, hey, let's put him on the security detail to help take care of Tony's celebrities.
Good.
Which I can tell you by itself, Cliff, is we could do a whole podcast on that experience.
I can't imagine. Wow.
I lived on a farm, so I knew how to use a log splitter. I knew how to make kindling. I know the difference between oak and hickory and locust and the hardwoods,
wow,
right?
Yeah.
So they put me on the fire team, and that's exactly where I wanted to go.
Great.
And the next thing I know, and by the way, when you're a volunteer, you pay your own way. So
Yeah.
I was spending, $1,500 maybe to go. Well, my wife at the time, she's like, "Who the hell is this Tony Robbins guy? You're spending $1,500 every time you're going. I'm not real thrilled with this." and she was rightfully so, because she doesn't have any reference. She doesn't know who Tony is.
Yeah.
And so then they offered me a subcontractor's position.
Great.
Which meant they paid my way. They paid my hotel.
Yeah.
They paid me a per diem, and they paid me a little salary, very little. But at least I wasn't out of pocket anymore.
Right.
The other thing they did, which was pretty cool, was they gave me a free ticket.
Yay.
So I got to take my wife. And she went, and then on day 4 after she graduated, we're walking on the beach, kind of anchoring the experience in. She goes, "Okay, I get it. I drank the Kool-Aid. Go. This guy's pretty badass. So if you want to roll with him and run with him, you go. I'm good. I'm all in." So she gave me her blessing, and this was all going down, by the way, in 95 and 96.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, Robbins offered me the captain's position, which meant that I would take over all of TR's firewalks globally, right? And he did something else really cool. I told them that I was homeschooling my kids, and this is going to be a pretty big challenge for me. And they said, "Well, what if we paid to have your kids go on the road with us? Your wife and your kids, you homeschool them on the road. Would that work?" I called my family. I said, "Hey, would that work?" And my son's like, "You think, Dad?"
Yeah. You think? Yeah.
Where's our first event? I'll never forget. He asked me when I got him on the phone talking to the family. Sydney, Australia.
Oh my God. How old was he then?
He was 9-ish.
Okay. Old enough to understand. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
10 and 7, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So there's my kids on the road with Tony Robbins and the crew. And I got to tell you, Cliff, Tony and Sage were so sweet to my kids.
Yeah.
They treated them like gold. They'd be in the green room. They'd be back of the house. It was family, man. And they treated it. Tony would sit down with my kids and talk to them. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing. So that all went down in 2003. 2005, we went to London. That's where we set the world record. We firewalked 12,300 people.
Oh, I didn't know you set a world record. Wow.
Well, let me clarify something.
Yeah.
Guinness was not there, so it wasn't documented. However, here's what I can tell you. That was the largest firewalk in our planet's history.
Yes.
Now, and the only other thing that comes close to it is another Robbins event where there was 10,000 or 9,000. So, but again, I do want to clarify that Guinness Book of World Record was not there.
They didn't sanction it, but it happened. The numbers are there.
Yeah. I've got some pictures to prove it.
Yes.
That was 2003. 2005, Excuse me. Yeah, 03 is when I started. 05 we did the world record. 2014, I'm driving down the road. My phone rings. It's a company called Google. Maybe you've
Yeah.
heard of them.
Yeah, I heard of those guys.
Yeah, you heard of those guys? They're like, hey, you the Dave Albin does the firewalks for Tony Robbins? Yeah, what can I do for you? Well, if you're not under any contractual obligation or non-compete, we'd like to talk to you about hiring you. Really? Okay, well, homeboy's a free agent. What you got?
Yeah.
And so
No hesitation. No hesitation.
none. So that I ended up doing 2 gigs for Google. While I was there, I had a really in-depth conversation with one of the executives, female. And she said, look, Dave, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but you're at the top of your game, dude. You ought to consider starting your own business because you can go out and create the paradigm shift that companies want. It's what they need.
Yeah.
Because what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you.
That's right.
And this experience is off the chain.
It is.
So, it's up to you. I'm not telling you. And so, Google's telling you to start your own business. Maybe you should listen to them. And I did.
Absolutely.
So,
God, that spawned firewalkadventures.com. That's your company.
Yep.
Wow.
Sure did. 14.
God, what a story.
Shortly after that, well, I did 2 gigs for Google, but shortly after that, I was at NASA.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm right down the road here on the Space Coast in Florida. So I'm right down from Cape Canaveral, 20 miles south.
Gotcha. Well, we were in Houston. We went to Houston for that one. But then, I went to Notre Dame and then Virginia Tech and then Remax and Microsoft and Heineken and the EO organization and the YMCA. I mean, and then I started doing everything from a Fortune 100 company to junior high schools and high schools, which is, between you and I, my favorite.
Yeah. God, I didn't know you did. So you did high schools with this Firewalk?
We did board breaks.
Yeah. Okay.
I came in and they asked me to speak on entrepreneurship, and then I did the board break for the graduating seniors. I've done that a couple times. So yeah, so since 2014, we've been going hot and heavy ever since, pun intended.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then, recently my career took another really sharp turn. I'm on a podcast a few months ago. And after we recorded, I'm talking to the host, sidebar, right? And she said, so David, let me ask you something. Have you ever done a firewalk for veterans? And I said, you mean specifically? And she said, yeah. And I go, no, why? And she said, Dave, we have 200 vets. And as you may know, the suicide rate is off the chain. I go, yeah, it's like 22 a day. She goes, no, it's not.
No,
That's
it's almost,
It's not close.
No.
That's only if they leave a note.
Yeah.
So it's probably closer to 50. And so I'm a vet. I was raised, the dad that raised me, my adopted father and my biological father. My biological was Air Force. My father that raised me was regular Army. He was career military officer.
Wow, good.
Highly decorated World War II. So, and I grew up in the Vietnam era. So I went, okay, hey, I'm interested, but give me a couple of days to think about this so I can get this figured out in my head.
Yeah.
And I woke up that night after that conversation with her, and it was clear as a bell, man. Operation Do No Harm came to me. And I went, dude, this is everything you've been trained for. 3 decades of doing this, right?
Yeah.
Personal development, firewalks. And then I thought, well, there's other groups that need as much help as the vets do. So we've got vets, we've got first responders, which I know you can relate.
Yes, sir.
We've got single moms.
Great.
We've got kids that have been abused and been neglected.
Perfect.
And so now, corporate America has been really good to me, Cliff. I mean,
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. But now I'm going out to corporate America and said, hey, how'd you like to make your brand look spectacular?
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Pick a category, which one you want.
Yeah.
We'll come into your city, your county, whatever. You make a donation because it's going to be a 501c3.
Yep.
We'll do all the heavy lifting. We'll do everything. We'll take care of everything. And you get all the credit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we are. So that said, we have our first event scheduled. It's going to be in Modesto, California. Again, another podcast. I'm on podcast, Ed Paracott. He goes, Dave, I'm the head of the Rotary here in Modesto.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now, my chapter will hire you. Would you come? Absolutely, Ed. You better believe I will. So here we go.
God, that's great.
It's going to be April 12th and 13th. We've got some sponsors, some corporate sponsors that are already stepping up and showing up. And one of them is C3 Insurance out of San Diego. Holy mackerel. These guys are bringing in a production team to film all of it.
Great.
So they spent a ton of money to do that. My dear friends over at the Zippo Lighter Company.
Yeah, Zippo.
Right? Yeah, if you're going to start a fire, you might as well start it with a Zippo. So they're making a lighter specifically for these guys.
Wow.
It's going to say Operation Do No Harm. Oh, it's sick. You know what they did too, Cliff? They took the 1941 replica. Most people don't realize that Zippo's been around since 1931.
I remember in the 70s when they had the little can with the red and white.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, during World War II, Zippo made a bunch of lighters for the GIs to carry overseas.
Oh, man.
How do I know that? My dad had one.
Wow.
When he was in Europe fighting the Nazis. In fact, it was on a dish on his dresser till the day he died. And so I have a really deep love and emotional connection with Zippo.
Absolutely,
So, you know, they've been making lighters for me, and they've been taking really good care of me. So I called them, and I said, hey, Operation Do No Harm. You guys interested? They said, oh, hell yes.
Good.
So they flew. I didn't fly. Excuse me. I drove up to Bradford, Pennsylvania, and I met with them.
Yeah.
They literally took me on a tour of the plant. They don't do that.
No.
You can go. They have a huge museum there. So when you go to the museum, and it's spectacular. But they took me on a 3-hour tour of the plant. I got to go inside and meet a bunch of the people. I met one lady that has been working for Zippo for 57 years.
Wow.
Her daughter was working there. She teased her. She goes, she's just a rookie. She's only been here for 34 years.
Wow.
So they created Operation Do No Harm. They created the lighter. So what they did is they took the 1941 replica, just like the one that my dad carried in World War II, and they powder coated it black, and then they lasered in there. We got Operation Do No Harm. It's got my logo. It's got the Rotary logo on it. And so we're going to be giving those out to the vets on the 12th and the 13th.
God bless you. That's awesome. I got to ask my neighbors. I got a couple of neighbors. They summer in Bradford, PA, which I guess is. I grew up in Rochester, New York, and that part of Pennsylvania is kind of up near the southern border of New York, right? So
yeah, sure is.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask them about
right there.
Zippo.
You're right. In fact, I think it's like 8 miles to the border, something like that. It's real close.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love this, man, this niche, because the vets need to be serviced not with, there's no better way to create a transformation, which the vets need coming back, and they don't need it through medication and psych meds. They need it through a psychological transformation that this can provide. I think this is just so exciting.
Well, I did something that's never been done too, and we're going to do that. And I got one around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So there's a company out of Salt Lake. It's called doTERRA. doTERRA, and they make essential oils.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a connection with them. And they created a blend specifically for the Firewalks.
What? Oh, my God.
You want to smell this stuff.
What does that smell like?
It's so rich.
Yeah.
So you know the Firewalk, right?
Yeah.
Stop, wipe your feet, and celebrate.
That's right.
Okay. So what's O factor?
You smell. You're smelling. It goes right to your brain. Right to your brain.
Right to your brain.
Nothing stops it.
Wipe your feet. Smell this.
Ah, that's good.
While I've got them in that peak state at the Firewalk, I'm going to have them smell this. Then we're going to give it to them.
Because now they're going to be anchored.
They want to go right back to that moment. Smell this. Smell this. Smell this.
Yeah.
There's another company that is stepped up that's helping us, and these guys right here, called the American Weed Company, and they have grown and developed a peptide strand specifically for veterans. And so, they also have strands for pain, right?
Yeah.
So, firefighter, for example, they've been burnt. They've got, what do you want your relative on? You want them on pharmaceuticals, or do you want, a gummy that they can take and we'll give them a great deal of relief?
Yes.
So these guys reached out to me. They're coming.
Good.
We're really happy about having them. We reached out to Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah.
We reached out to MIT 45, which is a kratom company. So we've got a bunch of corporate people looking at us, and they'll all be able to do, what we're doing in Modesto. They'll just bring us into wherever they are. And the cool thing is that, they'll be able to bring their employees.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Talk about a golden handcuff.
Yep.
We do a firewalk for 300 vets on a Saturday. Guess what happens on Monday when everybody comes back to work? Look what we did. We just saved 300 veterans. So you know what I mean? So
yeah.
That camaraderie of that, like, wow, look what we did. Look at our company. This is what we do. So, yeah, we're excited, man. We're, I never would have thought in a million years this was the direction. But, needless to say, here we are.
Yeah, that Firewalk is just so. When I went, I thought, I kind of researched and I go, okay, I understand the science of it, boom, boom. And so I have no fear. But then when you get there, right, first he starts the fire, like you said, around noon or 1 in the afternoon. You get to see all the, but then I see, there's a couple of ambulances. Oh, I guess you could get hurt. And then you go down at night. Now you're going to feel the heat. Tony's on a ladder screaming, more coals. And then all of a sudden it was too real, right?
Coals, yep.
But, it's just metaphor, and I'm glad that he reveals, as I'm sure you do, this is not a trick, a parlor trick, but where else in your life your brain tells you, yeah, you can't do this, you're going to get hurt, so don't do it. You end up doing it. What else in my life tells me I can't do it, but I actually can? And God, it's almost been a curse to me, really, because you know what, Dave? I don't have any limitations. So I no matter what I have my eye on, I can do that. And so I have to niche myself down. Wait a minute, I can't do everything. So I have to focus on a couple things, right?
And that's it. Why don't, I say all the time in my seminars when they hire us, it's like, well, why don't people get what they want in life? Well, there's a story they make up about why they can't have it. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources, blah, 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 blah. It's all bullshit. So if you think, what Henry Ford said it, right? If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right about it. Oh, yeah.
When I do my gigs, I put a picture on the screen behind me.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of a guy by the name of Eric Weinmeier. And so I'll talk for 20 minutes and then I'll say, hey, by the way, who here can tell me where my friend Eric is standing? And somebody will inevitably yell in the background, Mount Everest. And I'll say, that's correct. By the way, let me tell you something about Eric here. He's climbed the 7 highest mountains on 7 continents. And he summited every single one of them. Put that boy on a mountain bike, he can tear it up. Put him in a kayak, he can probably navigate almost every river on earth. But here's what you don't know about Eric. He's blind.
Wow,
so
that's
I don't
powerful.
want to hear your bullshit. I'm not.
That's right. Yeah.
You got nothing.
No excuse. Nothing. That's right.
If a blind guy can climb the 7 highest mountains on this planet, just think about for a minute what you might be able to do.
God, that's great. Yeah, it's so powerful.
I do it. I screw with them, man.
Yeah, you got it right.
I do it on purpose, man. I do it on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm telling you this to screw with your life. Stop playing small, man. Don't give me this. You can't. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. And we need more people. This is what we need in this world.
Yeah.
People that go, you know what? I can do this. We can do this.
That's right.
And so, I believe the 2 most important times in someone's life, Cliff, is it just comes down to, the moment you're born and the moment you figure out why.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that can take a while. One of my mentors, I know Joseph McClendon III.
Yes, because he will tell you that you rock. Yes.
You rock.
Yeah.
Joseph is a longtime dear friend of mine. We communicate a couple times a week.
I love
every week, week in and week out.
That's awesome. I love Joseph. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's one of the sweetest, kindest, most playful. He's brilliant. And I'm so honored, to be so close to him the way I am.
Yeah.
One of our mentors said something to us one time that I never forgot as well, and that is, he said, every human has 2 lives.
Yes.
And the second one starts
when you realize you only have one, right? When
you realize you have only one.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I love that stuff. Yeah. I'm similar to your wife. My wife, I was meeting her and she she wanted to do the 30. She did the cassette tape program, the 30-dayer. She goes, well, I saw what it did for you. I want to try this. And man, all of her goals came true. And then she said, if you ever go on another live, I want to go with you. So that's why 92 to 2019, we went together in 2019 where we were talking off camera. The Pitbull showed up, and my wife was born in Cuba, and of course he's Cuban, and he talks about, his mother driving him from school, listening to those damn tapes. And then he just pointed out the window and said, now my jet's out there parked next to Tony. Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's quite a character. And, we had over the years, countless celebrities.
Yeah.
That come from every walk of life, everybody from gold to, Olympians, gold medal winners to, professional athletes and in every area, football, baseball, basketball, MMA, and, throughout the entire entertainment industry. And those are all great. They're wonderful. It's all cool. It's around all that. But, at the end of the day, I get asked, so Dave, what was your greatest Firewalk memory, whatever? And it's like, oh, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
The day my kids Firewalked. My daughter was 6. My son was 9.
Wow.
We were in New York, and we're doing the Firewalk. It's doing my thing with Tony, and Tony knew that my kids were standing over there in the shadows. So we walked all the participants, and I literally had put them with one of Tony's trainers, Vicky St. George. And so they're standing over there. And when we walked all the participants, Tony waved them over. And, here they come, 6 and 9 years old, right?
Wow.
And, man, Cliff, my daughter walked up to the lane, and Tony looked at me, and I looked at him with tears in our eyes. And we took her by the hand, and across she went. Such a magical moment for him and the Albin family.
Yeah.
And then we came back, and my son's standing there, and Tony looked at him and he goes, I love you and I love your daddy. Go.
Wow. Gosh. I love you and I love your daddy. Go. Wow.
It's a beautiful thing.
Call to action. Where did you guys do that in New York?
Well, it was actually in New Jersey. We do the event, and we call it New York, but we do it in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Secaucus, okay.
There's the Embassy Suites is there, and then the venue is there as well. And so we've done several of them there actually. And so so that was their first event. Of course, they firewalked many times thereafter. When I went into business for myself, my daughter and my grandson were on the road with Grandpa, and so we've done that. And my son has helped me countless times. My daughter used to, I won't say she's a photographer, but man, does she take good pictures. And she knows how to use a video camera, so she's taken a lot of the videos and still shots, and she's got to travel with her dad all over the U.S. And of course, when they were with Tony, we went all over the world.
Yeah.
I set up, sometimes firewalking isn't always logistically possible.
Right. I was going to say, yeah.
So we have a backup for that, and or if we were, rained out or something, and we have the glass walk experience. This is where we teach you how to walk on broken glass. So we set a world record there too. We did that in Paris, 2019. My son and I, Dave Jr. went with me and traveled with me because I'm going over there. We had 1,500 people that glass walked. That's the world record. And when you're traveling from the U.S. to Paris and you've got 6 big suitcases full of glass, you typically want to take somebody with you.
Oh, jeez.
So I literally so inside the case, I put something in French and in English, and it says, here's who we are. Here's our website.
Oh, good thing.
What we do. This is what this glass is for, so that when Homeland Security, opens it up, they can see and they can go to the website and all that kind of stuff. So
good.
TSA, I should say. So we set the world record then.
Oh my goodness. What's the science behind, how come you don't get cut on the glass?
Well, a couple things. We do process the glass. We just don't break a bunch of bottles and people just start standing on it, right?
Right,
We use, there's specific glass we use, Cliff. We use wine bottles and alcohol bottles because they're thick. And then, of course, we sift through it. We get out all the shards and the really nasty pieces. We process it, to kind of take off the real, we inspect it really, really closely.
Yeah.
It takes about a week to make a glass walk kit.
Yeah.
And, but, you're still walking on glass.
Yeah. I got you.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been asked, has anybody ever been cut? 2 times. Number one, the first time was my son. When we were in Paris, we were setting the world record.
Yeah.
So he was wearing jeans and they had holes in the knees. And so he was down there. He's a sweeper, right? So when you walk on glass, when you get to the end, you lift your foot, we inspect it, we wipe it off with a brush, and then you step off, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
make sure there's no pieces stuck. Well, that's what Davey was doing. Well, when you're walking on glass, little pieces can pop out.
Yeah.
It popped out on the carpet, and he put his knee down on it, and it cut his knee.
Wow.
So he wasn't even walking. He was in, I have a rule now, by the way, you got to have on no holes in the jeans, please. Thank you. And I even have most of the people now, when they're down on their knees for that long, wear knee pads so that that doesn't happen again. So we learned from that. And then one time we're in Montreal, had about 350 people. And I got a message, said, hey, somebody cut themselves and they're back there with the paramedics. So I went back there, and the woman's back there, and little tiny cut on her foot. And, and the paramedic was put some Neosporin and put a Band-Aid on it. And I said, so what happened? You want to talk about it? And she goes, yeah. And I go, so what happened? She goes, I didn't follow your directions.
Good to hear.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we tell you is that when you walk, when you get to the end, stop. Lift your feet up. We're going to brush your feet off. Yeah. And then you can, we're going to make sure to set your feet down. Well, she was so excited when she got to the end, she didn't do that. And she celebrated too early. Yeah. And she jumped. Yeah. She landed on the carpet. And I said, so you didn't follow directions? She said, no. I said, so you celebrated too early? And she said, yeah. And I said, how often does that show up in your life? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And she said, all the freaking time. And that's not the word she used. Yeah. So, the lesson was there for her. So yeah, it's pretty darn safe. I've walked thousands and thousands and thousands. God, that's great. Such a powerful, that just creates a powerful metaphor that people can really relate to immediately. And just, it's physical, it's audible, it's visual, it's unforgettable is what it is. And it really, it is, man. And it's scary, obviously. Anybody that's ever cut themselves knows that's not a fun experience. So, so you're automatically, I do not want to hurt myself. And naturally, I'm told in my brain, don't do this. Yeah. Right. God, that's exciting, Dave. Wow. Well, and as you know, Cliff, fear's a liar. Yeah, it's a liar. Yeah. Yeah. What does fear mean to you? You're going to have to decide. Because, the fears we don't overcome become our limits, period, end of story. Yeah. I wasn't going to do a firewalk, and I didn't even know what the hell that meant. But up until that point. That's right. Here's what fear meant to me. Forget everything and run. There you go. I never heard that before. That's awesome. Right? And so after the firewalk, it changed dramatically. It was face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. I've been sober for 30. This will be my 36th year, and one of the things I learned in AA was false images appearing real. Real. I've heard that one. Yeah. That one. False evidence. Yeah. That one was profound to me because it was so true. That is true. Yeah. It was just so relevant in my life. People are afraid to. Maybe it was in one of Tony's books where he talks about that. Maybe his talks, he talks about that some kind of village where they have some kind of deadly thing within the walls of the huts, right? And they make a whole new village that's safe for them, but they still don't move because they don't want that change, even though this is going to kill them. And so people will latch on to the familiarity, right? Instead of... Yeah. Well, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. Yeah, so true. Yeah. In fact, that's what really got me. Because I saw him on the infomercial. Yeah. Shortly after I got sober, because I had insomnia. Me too. I did too, because I was working the police. Because I was up all night. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What are you doing at 3:00 in the morning? And that's the marketplace for Tony, right? So yeah, so I went to my first AA meeting on June 8th of '88, and
Wow.
so as I started to recover, I had my sleep patterns were all over the place. So I was up
Yep.
late at night all the time, and sure enough, there he was, 3 o'clock in the morning. Gunthy Ranker had him out there in front of everybody. Hell, some people thought he had a show.
Yeah,
It
I
was
know.
a
Got the ranker.
commercial, right?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't like him. I'll tell you straight up. When I first saw him, I thought, what an ass! What a pompous jerk!
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, he's all motivated and encouraging. Well, I wasn't. I was miserable, right? So I wanted to
Yeah.
wallow in it. But he said two things that got me. And the one thing he said was, "We'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure." And I
Yep.
went, "Holy shit! That's why I drank and did drugs. I was
Yeah.
either running from pain or chasing pleasure, right?" But what really got me was he said, "Let me tell you how human beings make decisions. We make decisions. We're motivated out of inspiration or desperation."
Desperation.
And I went,
Exactly.
"Oh, brother, man, you're talking to me. You're singing my song."
Yeah.
That's when I said, "Okay, well, maybe I should listen to this guy." And that's when I bought, I broke out the American Express card and bought the 30-day program.
Me too. Yeah. Well, my thing was I went to a negative place within the LA Sheriff's Department, and then I thought I'm going to show them. I'm going to go get my real estate license, quit this job, and go make all the money that I want. And so my broker sent me to Burbank, California, to a seminar by Mr. Jim Rohn. I got to see Jim in person.
Oh, sweet.
And then through Jim, I thought I went there for sales training. I got life training from him. And then that led me to Tony Robbins. And then he's from I live in Glendora. What the heck? And so I had a friend on the Sheriff's Department. He went to high school with Tony. And so I had a connection already. And then I did the seminar. It's funny, and you'll understand this. So of course in the Sheriff's Department, I'm telling people I paid $695 for the weekend seminar, and people $600 to hear somebody talk. I'll talk to you for $600. A lot of negativity, right? And then I get to the seminar, and now it's 2,000 people just like me, even more. I met a lady from San Francisco. She says, "I got 6 hair salons. I brought everybody here. I paid for everybody." I go, "Oh, this is everybody, the same mindset." And so wonderful, but I'm sure you can relate to that.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm a Southern California boy too. I don't know if you know that.
No, tell me whereabouts.
Yeah. So I was born in Hollywood,
Oh, okay.
and then I was raised in Long Beach. So Tony grew up in Azusa, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
So that's not too far.
No.
Yeah, and of course, over the years, after I got involved with his companies, again, he was so good to my family, so good to my kid. Tony treated me like gold. I mean, he really, really did. Now, and of course, now I was a major player on his team.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
so
on the security
awesome.
team, right? So I was on the security team. I was his fire captain. I did some other things, as far as the production team went, things of that nature. Helped with a lot of the training, and then and then in 2014, when Google called me, I went back and said, "Tone, I need to talk to you." And he goes, "You're leaving, aren't you?" I was like, "Well, I'm not leaving you, man. It's time for me to go. You don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
You got a half a dozen people out in that parking lot right now that can do my job."
Yeah.
Because they're cross trained. They can't. You don't need me anymore. You really don't. And he didn't. But it was still, when Tony liked the certainty.
Yes.
He knew when I was out there, and things would get done.
Yes.
Literally, they would get done.
Yeah.
We were in Jersey one time, and I forget what. Oh, I know. Yeah. So the fire captain that came out, the fire department that came out, they stayed there with us, right? They would put the fire truck up the street or whatever. And this guy, this particular captain had, I don't know, he had been there with us probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Right. His name's Vinny.
And, that makes sense. Yeah.
From Jersey.
Of course, he's Vinny. Yeah.
And his cousin Vinny was there. His brother Vinny was there. There was another Vinny. They're all Vinnies, right? So I'm in the venue. Well, we had a production coordinator. It was her first time doing this, and she was talking to Vinny, and Vinny went up to her and he said, "Well, we're shutting this down. There ain't going to be any Firewalk today." Well, she freaked out.
Yeah.
And so she jumps on the radio And she says, Dave Albin, where are you? You got to get out to the firewalk area. The fire department's here and they're going to put out the fire. We can't do the firewalk. And she's just regurgitating all this into the radio. Well, Tony's PA's listening to it. And so Tony's PA goes, hey, Tony, there's a fire captain here and they're shutting the firewalk down. And he's like, well, hold on. What? She said, well, Dave's on his way. She goes, yeah, just wait till Dave gets there.
Yeah.
So I get there and I see Vinny. He's up there, right? He's walking towards me. And I'm thinking, you ass.
Yeah.
You took the new girl and she took it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And, he comes up and goes, hey, man, what are we having for lunch? Pizza, like we fed you last time. Well, when do we get our shirts? So we always exchange shirts and swag. And this poor girl, Heather, was just standing there like, completely dumbfounded.
Oh, that poor thing.
I had to come back and go, and by the way, Heather, you want to hit me on my private line. Don't tell the whole world that they're shutting down the firewalk.
Yeah.
You threw a lot of drama out there, man. And you fell for it. So anyway, at the end of the evening, it's time for the firewalk, and here comes Tony, right? He comes out to the firewalk area, and I'm standing there, and he walks up to me, and he whispers in my ear, and he goes, I see they didn't shut the firewalk down.
Yeah.
No, Tony, they didn't shut the firewalk down.
That's such a great story. Oh my God, so wonderful. I met Tony once on City Walk. I worked up there. So, I worked West Hollywood Station, and then I was stationed up at the Universal City Walk at our substation. And as a matter of fact, because of Tony, I had the courage actually I was doing my comedy, cop by day, comedian by night. And because I had no limitations, I was able to rent out the Roxy on Sunset, did a comedy show there. Eventually, I rented out the Hollywood Palladium and did a comedy show there because I had no limits on that stuff. So, so I appreciate your relationship with Tony and what you've done and what you're continuing to do and continuing to serve, brother. So, man, so wonderful. I met Tony, and he had his son with me. He goes, this is my son.
Sure.
And I was in uniform. Yeah.
Josh or Jarek. Okay, yeah, I figured it was Jarek, yeah.
Yeah, because this is probably 98, 99 or something, yeah.
Well, Tony obviously talked a lot about Jarek and in his, at his events.
Yeah.
And talked about his son Josh, too, and Jolie and, and all of them, all the kids. And I got to share the stage with Jarek in 2019.
Wow.
Which was really cool. We came into the hotel that night, and I had his number, and I texted him and I said, hey man, can we chat before our event tomorrow so we can, get on the same page? And he came. He was so humble, such a great young man. I said, obviously I worked with your daddy all these years, and now I get to share a stage with his son.
Yeah.
I was doing the firewalk, and he was going to be talking, and it was just magical. It's
like,
what? Because when I was there, you were a little kid.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, literally. He talked a lot about Jarek and growing up and all that. So it was a very, very magical event. In fact, Joseph was there too. All three of us, which was really, really cool. Joseph, myself, and Jarek. What a career, man. What a ride.
Yeah. And it's still going.
And we're still doing it. So now I'm going to be 70 this year, and I've got gas in the tank, and I've taken pretty good care of myself. So now it's time to serve at a much higher level, and there's suicide rate between those four categories is high, and I've got a pretty clear idea what to do and how to do it to curb.
I like it. I like what you're doing because it's a natural way. It's a way of changing mindsets and to making a transformation that is it's non-pharmaceutical, which I think is just the best way to make a transformation and a more permanent. I'm going to be respectful of your time, and I want any last thoughts. And where can I send people? Firewalkadventures.com. Look what you're doing for the vets and for all these other people. And I just think you're on a great mission, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The one thing, everything is on our website. You can get a hold of us. We haven't put up Operation Do No Harm yet.
Okay.
There's some things that are in the mix with that right now. Is the logo and creating the 501c3 and all that. Though they can still get a hold of us, right? They can still get on the phone. We can still talk about it. The other thing that's on there that we've got quite a bit of interest in is the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy.
Oh, I didn't hear about. Okay.
We do that once a year in October. It's 5.5 days. They come up here to the Appalachian Mountains where I live up in the northwestern part of the state. And they spend 5.5 days with me, and I rock their world. So I teach them all this stuff. I teach them how to create these life-changing paradigm shift experiences and everything that goes with it. So obviously the glass walk and the firewalk and the board break and the brick break and the arrow break and the rebar bend and how to talk to fire marshals and how to get in with Chamber of Commerce's and how to present yourself and how to get insurance and how to talk to fire marshals and it's intense, man. And we graduated last in 2003. We had 11 grads. And so I keep it small. I keep it intimate so that I can give everybody one-on-one. So that's coming up. So that's on the website. So that for anybody that would want to consider that. And we have pricing for, the corporate client and trainers and coaches and friends and family and the whole 9 yards. So
great.
That's on the website as well.
I'm going to look into that. Who knows? You might see me there. All right.
Ooh, come on, brother. Yeah, I'd love to have you. Are you kidding me? I'll personally invite you. I'd love to have you.
Oh, that's so great. Dave, you're doing such great stuff, man. So I appreciate it. You got your own academy if people want to start putting on their own events or, I mean, as far as the charity work and supporting the vets, man, these corporations, man, they can get their hand in and, it's not only are they creating something that's great for the world, but also it's going to put a light on them doing good things. So, man, that's awesome.
It's a win-win, man.
It's a win-win. That's what I like. I like a win-win. Yeah.
They know. They donate money. They sponsor different types of events or causes or whatever it is. So here they can come in and they can really get 2 for 1 because not only can they support 300 first responders or 300 single moms and maybe the kids, right?
Yeah.
But they get to bring their staff.
Yeah.
So it just adds a whole nother dynamic. I mean, I get hired all the time, right, to come out and put on an event for XYZ Corporation. And that's great. We'll continue to do that. But now they can do both if they want to.
Yeah. And it'll be contagious with all their employees and everything. Oh my God. That's awesome, Dave. Yeah. All right, brother. I'm going to send people your way and hang on for a little bit after that. We'll debrief. Yes, and man, I am honored to have had you and talk with you. It was just great hearing these Tony stories and what you're doing with everything that's happened for you. I know we didn't touch on a lot of heavy things that you went through, but maybe we'll do it again at another time.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. I'm all in. Yeah.
Oh, God bless you, man.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, please subscribe to the channel. Get yourself into a firewalk. It'll transform your life. I guarantee you that. And I'll catch everybody on the next episode.